besting, as it were, her predecessors, that's a big step. I mean, that is a big symbolism of honouring the dead who were fighting against the British state. So I think, it does put that difference between what the Queen's doing and what Obama's doing in kind of very different positions.
Shane, would the garden be used by a lot of people? It's supposed to be a sort of little oasis, sunken gardens away from the smoke and dirt of the city, but is it much used?
No, and you're right, it is an oasis of calm. I mean, strip away the politics of it, it's actually a beautiful, beautiful garden. But I'd say if you ask most Dubliners, they wouldn't even know it exists. I mean, it's incredibly close to, it's literally at the top of O'Connell Street, but it's kind of hidden away. And I'd say, certainly outside Dublin, I'd say very few people are aware of it, and I think even many Dubliners will never have been to it.
Opened by De Valera, of course.
Yes, and it's right opposite Vaughan's Hotel where Michael Collins had his headquarters. I mean, he could have stepped into it. Yes, and Oisin Kelly, the famous Irish sculptor, did the Children of Lear statue. The other place Her Majesty would visit is also very beautiful, Island Bridge, the War Memorial.
That will be tomorrow.
That is certainly a place that the Dubliners don't go to, but through being in the centre of the city and near the art gallery and so on, the Garden of Remembrance is better known. But
interesting, we did see some pictures of the statue. I may get a chance to tell you a bit more about it for our viewers, but the sculptor, his son had a letter in the Irish Times today, and it was Oisin Kelly was the sculptor, and his son had written in saying that his father would be amazed and amused at the prospect of the Queen going to it, but that he would very much have approved. So for what it's worth, speaking from beyond the grave there.
I think that'd be a fairly genuine Irish attitude, not so much amused.
Interesting, let's go back to that symbolism thing. It's the Children of Lear. It's a famous Irish folklore of these children who became swans for 900 years. And what else happened 900 years ago, if you want to get into the symbolism of that?
Let me think.
You couldn't make it up.
I think the helicopter was coming for him.
Yes, the children of Lear were turned into swans. Children of King Lear were turned into swans by the
wicked
jealous stepmother Aoife, and they lived 900 years. And the prophecy was that they would remain as swans until they heard the sound of a Christian bell, and it was a bell of St. Patrick which brought them back to human form.
So maybe we're hearing the sound of an invisible bell tolling for peace.
Well, we did hear the bell earlier, just before we came on air at 12 o'clock.
So. You could have certainly heard it in the middle of O'Connell Street, because sadly one of the spin-offs of all the securities shot. The traders at Dublin must be devastated. There isn't a euro crossing a counter at the moment. There's nobody there.
The streets are empty, all right.
I wonder if a lot of people just stayed at home because of the obvious traffic problems that there were going to be.
They probably did. It sounded like a big operation to get in here. It wasn't in the end.
And here come the outriders of the royal cavalcade, the presidential cavalcade. So just in a very few minutes now, they will arrive for this important ceremony at the Garden of Remembrance. It, as I say, was opened by Eamon de Valera as president in 1966 was of course the 50th anniversary of the Easter Rising. And there'd been a long and seems to be fairly tortuous process of arriving at the design of it, and then it was done by a guy called Dahi Hanley, and then it was some years after that before it was actually built and opened finally in 1966.
Government work.
government work.
Does that explain the delay, Tim Pat?
It's a strange thing if you look at the pictures of when it was opened. I mean, it really is, for all the symbolism of the 50th anniversary of the Rising in 1966, it almost looks as if they are standing in a kind of partial built building site, because they were still awaiting a statue, although it had been commissioned.
Yes.
And it really was, for something that has such kind of national significance, the 50 years of arguing about almost where it should go, and then the process of what it should be, what form it should take, and as in the way of the moment here, who should pay for it. It did become a very drawn-out process.
Inch perfect parking
We
there.
certainly are in terms of the bailout.
No. Can't talk about that today. And here we have the Queen, Her Majesty, has changed out of the arrival outfit, which of course is superbly appropriate green. And we need a fashion correspondent here, but that looks like ivory to me.
A green trim, I think.
Ivory with a greenish trim, light green, not the startling green that she arrived in. But I think that statement has been made.
It has, definitely, very much so.
She can move
It
on.
looked very well with the mist behind it. Coming down.
So the Queen greeted there by Alan Shatter, and the Chief of Staff, Lieutenant Colonel John McCann, and Alan Shatter, the Defence Minister, of course, Alan Shatter TD. And the Brigadier General Dennis Murphy, the General Officer commanding of the 2nd Eastern Brigade. Members of the Council of State are also there, as Shane Harrison, Lieutenant, a few minutes ago. 3 Taoiseach are there as well, so the great and the good very well represented. So what's going to happen here, there will be a wreath-laying ceremony. Both heads of state will lay a wreath. The Queen will be escorted past that cruciform in the shape of a cross, the reflecting pool there, and be taken up to the sculpture platform. That's the sculpture of the Children of Lear, as we've been discussing. And there'll be a guard of honour there, and then the British national anthem will be played, followed by the laying of a laurel wreath and then a minute's silence. After that, there'll be a recitation of the poem We Saw a Vision, which is written in the garden, and that will be read by a soldier, by Captain Joe Freely of the 2nd Infantry Battalion. And I will read you a translation of that, of a vision. In the darkness of despair we saw a vision, we lit the light of hope, and it was not extinguished. In the desert of discouragement we saw a vision, we planted the tree of valour, and it blossomed. In the winter of bondage we saw a vision, we melted the snow of lethargy, and the river of resurrection flowed from it. We sent our vision a swim like a swan on the river, the vision became a reality. Winter became summer, bondage became freedom, and this we left to you as your inheritance. O generations of freedom, remember us, the generations of the vision. Again, it's almost like a private visit. The crowds, such as there might have been kept well back. Just a few hundred yards away from here, we hear minor disturbances going on O'Connell Street. And there we have the statue of Lear.
This is a memorial to the nearly 400 Irish rebels who died in the 1916 Easter Uprising.
The statue draws its inspiration not just from the legend of Lear, but also from the Yeats poem Easter 1916. And the Guard of Honour presents arms.
Nora, or arm, Ashopiha, Lee.
Wreath is presented. The Yeats poem of course, contains the lines, "Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart." And these events of this week are aimed at dissolving that stone, I suppose.
Guard Nora! Guard! Guard Nora! Up, pray!
Renew Ashling Dún. In Norcock an Dóchas renew Ashling Dún. Lasta Marsullus an Dóchas agus near Mucué. I Vosach an Agvishni renew Ashling Dún. Cora Macron na Krogata agus Honig Blá Era. I Nievra na Dirshur renew Ashling Dún. Velamar Schnakta na Toiva agus Rit Aun a Half Yokana As. Quermar on Ashling ag Snav mar Alla an Aun. Renew Firina Jan Ashling, Renew Saura Jan Gevra, Renew Sirsha Jan Dirsha, agus Dagamar Agusha mar Iric E. Aglunta na Sirsha, Quivni Geirnia, Glunta na Hashlinga.
Really reading the poem.
Guard Nora! On Curtis Generota! Carrigig! Urum!
The Irish flag will be hoisted to its full height. The last post, I suppose, bringing back memories of the occasion in which the President and Her Majesty met at the opening of the Messine Peace Tower in 1998. At another highly significant occasion, and of course remembering joint sacrifice as the 36th Ulster and the 16th Irish Divisions fought together in the battles of Ypres and Passchendaele.
Guard Nora! On Curtis Generota! Carrigig! Urum!
sounding of the Reveille and the national anthem bring that short ceremony to a close. We can go down to the garden itself, and our correspondent Shane Harrison is there. Shane.
Well, Noel, that was a particularly moving ceremony in which we saw the Queen and the Irish President Mary McAleese pay their respects to those Irish men and women who gave their lives for Irish independence, who gave their lives for Irish freedom, as a plaque at the Garden of Remembrance says. The garden was opened in 1966 to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Easter 1916 Rising. The Queen was in effect paying her tribute and commemorating those who fought against her predecessors and ancestors. In the distance I can hear some whistles being blown by protesters against the presence of the Queen here. But it has to be said, it's very much a minority voice. The Queen and the President, from the pictures that I'm looking at, are beginning to leave the Garden of Remembrance. The Queen's next line of